In this video, I'm going to walk you through some of the basic workflows for using plzreview for reviewing your code. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is install plzreview on one of your repos. So I've got my GitHub test user open here, and I've got a repository where I'm going to install plzreview. There's not much going on here, just some test commits and one pull request. And to install plzreview on this repo, I'm going to visit plz.review, sign in. And because I haven't installed for this test user on any repos, it's going to prompt me to go ahead and do that. So it's going to come to this consent screen here, and you're going to choose whether you're going to install it on all your repositories or only specific repositories. The process is a little bit different if you're installing onto an org, but for your personal repositories, this is what it looks like. So I'm going to choose to install it only on this please demo repo, and I'm going to click install. So it says plzreview has been installed, and now if I go back and visit plzreview, I'm going to see that that pull request that was in the repo has been pulled in here. And if I go into that, I can see the basic UI of plzreview. So just like other code review tools, you can see the diffs, there's comments, you can publish feedback, it shows your merge status. In this case, it looks like there's some merge conflicts. We'll get into the overall UI another time, but for this purpose, I'm going to leave this here, and I'm actually going to switch to the context of being a code author. So I'm going to use the CLI, which is called plz. The instructions for installing the command line tool are on the website, and you can see that it supports a few different commands here, and we'll go through those in this tutorial. The first thing you need to do is actually authorize the access to GitHub so that the tool can do what it needs to do. So I'm going to run please auth. This probably looks familiar if you've used other tools like this. I'm just going to copy that code and open this. I'm actually going to authorize it for my personal user and my personal GitHub user. And if I now go back to my command line, I am authorized. So now to author a PR from the command line using the please CLI, the first thing you need to do is make some code changes. So I'm going to switch to a different branch, just a working branch where I can actually write some new code. I'm just going to put some text into one of these files that already exists. If I do git status, then I'm going to see that there's my modified file, and just going to move this up so it's out of the way. And I'm going to commit this code, so I can provide a commit message. Always a good idea to use a commit message that is meaningful and descriptive, so I'm going to do that. And if I now look at my git log, I can see here's the main branch, and I've created a new commit on the work branch on top of that. So to push this change to GitHub and see it in plzreview, you're going to run plzreview. So it says this is the commit SHA, this is the message and the truncated message, and then it says it's created this review here. I'm going to click on that and open up my review. So you can see that I'm in the please demo repo. Here's my change that I made. And I want now somebody to review this. So there's a few ways I can do this. I can actually add it from the UI, or I can use the keyboard shortcuts to do that. In this case, I'm going to do it from the command line. So you do that by specifying the -R option on the please review command. So if we do that, then it's going to update the PR so that shadowtrotterdylan is the reviewer. So as an, now that I have my first code change in review, I actually want to continue working on top of that code change. Maybe this is a feature that requires a few different steps, some back-end changes and then some front-end changes or some refactoring in there. But it's important to be able to continue to work while somebody is reviewing your code. And that's really what the please workflow is trying to enable. So the way that we do this is to create a stack of PRs. That is one review on top of another, on top of another. And the way that we do this is actually just to create more commits. So I'm actually going to make another code change. So code change number 2. I'll do it in a different file, and I'll commit that change using a descriptive commit message. And then I'm going to run please review again. So running this, you're actually going to see that there are 2 reviews here. The one on the bottom of the stack that we created the first time is unchanged. It wasn't affected by this push. And a second one was created. So if I click on this now, I'm going to see the second review. Here's my code change. And you can see at the bottom here, there is a drop down. My bubble is in the way of that. And the drop down shows you the state of the stack. So it's saying that this review is 2 of 2 in the stack, and there's another review below it, which we can navigate to here as well. And so you can easily sort of navigate up and down the stack using the UI here. Another way to visualize this is using the please status command. So running please status is going to show the same stack of reviews, just slightly different information in the CLI. But you can see that revision 1 is the latest or current revision for the first review, and revision 1 for the second review is current as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about these statuses in a minute. So in the meantime, the reviewer, I'm going to switch back to my demo account, and I'm going to go to my feedback page, and I'm going to see that the review that I was added on here is in my feedback page. And I can navigate into that and I get the same basic view as the author, but I'm going to dive into this code and make some suggestions. So let's say I prefer Hallow, and then I'm going to publish those changes. So it looks good to me, but one small suggestion. And I'll publish that change. I'm not going to approve it quite yet. So going back to the code author view, I'm going to switch back to the bottom of my stack, and I'll see that feedback is present here. I'll say, oh, that's a good point. I should make that modification. So to make that code change, I'm going to have to do some work in my local repository again. And there's a few ways to change a commit below, where you are in the commit stack. But what we need to do is basically sort of go back in time, modify this commit, and then rebase this commit on top of the updated first commit. So I'm going to do that using a rebase. There's a bunch of ways to do this in our playbook, in our online help, talks about some different approaches, but this is the way that I find works the easiest. So I'm going to do a git rebase interactive, and I'm going to edit this commit here, and then pick this second commit on top of my edit. So I'm going to kick off the rebase, and I'm going to make that change to this file. So here we go, should be Hallow. And I'm going to amend the commit. The way that please works is that each commit corresponds to a PR, which corresponds to a review in the UI. So when you're using the CLI, it's important to remember that you need to amend the commit that corresponds to a particular review when you want to make changes to it. The UI supports having multiple commits in a single review, but the way the CLI works is that it assumes that there is a one-to-one relationship there, and we find that that works best because it sort of forces you to think about the commit history and proper commit hygiene and those sorts of things. So that's the workflow that we've sort of programmed into the CLI. But just know that PRs that have multiple commits are perfectly fine and work well within the web UI. It's just that you probably aren't going to want to use the CLI for those kinds of PRs. So I'm going to amend my commit, and then I'm going to continue my rebase. Now, if I look at please status, I'm going to see that both of these commits in the stack are modified, and the reason is we modified the base commit, and then the second commit depends on the code in the first commit, and so it's also modified. Now that we've modified, we can run please review again to push these changes back up to the UI. So I'm going to switch back to my reviewer, and I'm going to see that actually I'm going to respond to the review saying that I have a new revision created that addresses that feedback. So now it says hello as we'd expect. So I can resolve this comment. I'll say good point, updated, and publish that change. And now I can switch back to my reviewer, and I'll see that there's some feedback here. And so I'll take one more look at this code, say, yep, that looks good, publish my feedback, and approve. So publish that. And switching back to the author context, I now see that the PR is approved, and I'm going to go ahead and merge it. So merging this PR, it works just similar to the way it works in GitHub. Ultimately, it's just using the GitHub merge functionality. And if I now run please status again, I'm going to see something a little different. I'm going to see that this PR is actually behind, because what happened was when I merged, there was a final revision created. It's called a merge revision, and which is the final state of the code. So that means that I need to pull from GitHub to get the updated state of the stack. To do that, we're going to use the last command we'll talk about today, which is please sync. So a way to think about it is that please review pushes your code for review, and please sync pulls changes into your local repository from GitHub. So we'll do please sync. We'll take a moment. It's actually going to update the local state, and it's going to do something weird. I think I just had to give it a second. And I can see that there's now been a revision 4 created, which is the current one for that top review. And I can see that the bottom review in my stack was merged. So if I now visit this 5628, the second review I created, I'll see that there is a new revision, and it's been basically rebased on top of what was merged into the main branch from the first review. So that is the workflow. You can continue working on top of this stack, and what we find is that the stack kind of like goes through this growing and shrinking process. So you create a few reviews, start getting them reviewed, and keep working and add more reviews on top. Meanwhile, you're sort of addressing feedback on the bottom of the stack, and merging those. So it's sort of this like bottom up merging, and there's lots of other sort of interesting use cases for the command line, and in terms of there's also other features I didn't discuss in terms of reviewing the code, but we'll do that in another video. So thanks for your attention, and please check out plz.review.